Hey everyone, thanks for coming in. I am Jay Leonard, and I'm going to spend an hour with you talking about color and a few other things that are great to have in your post production. So a little nervous. I can't believe there's a lot of you, but it's going to be fun. Just a little bit of background while people trickle in. I've been doing this for 16, 17 years, based out in New York, but I'm from California, which is actually where I am today. I'm working out here for the month. And I also have a program called Color Positive where I promote Black talent and help people get jobs. Um, I think that one of the reasons why it was really important that I did this class with Creatively, who is awesome and has been incredibly supportive over the last year, and watching them grow as well, is that a lot of the talent that I do see, um, they're trying to figure out how to get to the next level, trying to figure out, like, what kind of images they should be shooting. And a lot of the time, I'd say definitely way over 50%, near 80% of the time, a lot of people have great work. They just need to kind of tune their post production. They need to start color grading their work, fine tuning what their look is. And a lot of times it's just going back over work that you've already shot that you feel good about, and kind of reworking it and looking at it from a new perspective. So there should have been a link sent, but there's a little download package for you guys to get some images that I'm also going to show you. And I'm going to pull that up for you. Uh, it's going to be a sort of guide for you to see color in a few different ways. There it is. Just showed up in the link. Awesome. So I'm going to jump into it and start sharing my screen so we can get to it. There's actually so much to kind of cover in this area, but we only have an hour. So really what I'm going to do is kind of show you my process, and also remind you there's no rules to this. Um, there's just tools that we use, and we can get as creative as possible. I know when it comes to retouching, there's a lot of ways that, especially when it comes to professional retouchers, they want to pass, if they have to pass work around, or if you're at a studio house, you want to retouch a certain way. But when you're handling your own work, get creative. And that's sort of what I've done over the years. So in that package, as I start to share my screen, one sec. Oh, I need the permission. Here we go.
I think you should be good now, Jay.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Of course.
Awesome. There it is. Okay, cool. Okay. So what I'm going to show you first are a few images of how we're looking at color. In this package, I have given you just a few guides to basic concepts of color. When I first started working, I was shooting film and I was coloring in the darkroom, and it really gives you a hands-on approach to the way that you see color and the way you approach it as a whole and as an image, fine tuning things, layering things like with your actual hands. So a lot of you have seen this, really basic. I want to show you and be able to scroll through here. There we go. Uh, so we have a color wheel. We have CMYK. We have RGB. These are the way that colors mix. Um, I'm showing you these different perspectives on color because we're all different and we look at color differently as well, right? Um, I like looking at sliders. Um, this is just an image from Photoshop, and it's just a great visual on how, when we're dealing with color, whatever program you're dealing with, because there's several, right, that we all use, we go through different programs to kind of get what we want, on how one melds into the other. and how we push and kind of tone these colors. So, I don't want to go through all the rules and stuff. I don't want to spend too much time with these, but I wanted to just kind of slide through real quick and show you, because these are going to be great tools for you later after we've kind of gone through this hour, to go back and be like, okay, I see how these things really mix and how I can apply them to my own images. So we're going to work with these images. This is also something I provided into the plan today. We're going to just start with a quick exercise. I have given everyone an EIP file, and it's a raw file from Nikon. Ideally, you upload this to whatever program you want. Ideally, it's going to be Capture. Hopefully, you've used Capture before. And what I want you to do, without us getting into the details of what I'm going to talk about through color and starting with Capture One and going to Photoshop, I'd like you to start coloring this image. We're just going to take a few minutes to do it. And as you do it, you don't have to pay attention to the screen too much. Do your thing. You can hear me talk a little bit about how I'm going to start in Capture One, or you can just follow along. But I'm going to get to 3 other images after this, and those will be the ones that I go in depth with. This is an exercise because ultimately what I want you to do is I want you to, after this hour, be able to see how I use color, how you started, and then see how other people use color relatively. It's one of the most important things that I think when we're talking about color that I think about, which is that color is relative. Even when you're talking about cameras, I'd say the most popular cameras out there right now are, Nikon, Canon, and Sony. The majority of people who have come into the market, because they're also affordable cameras, are using these cameras. People have literally written code to represent colors to go into the camera. And if you aren't messing with those, then you're leaving someone else to color your images. So it's really important that you take control. Something I've learned after using those cameras is that Nikon has a green tint, Canon goes warm, Sony goes blue-green. So if you understand that in your file and you understand that someone has written that into the information, then you can decide not only, maybe what camera you want to purchase, because you want to work with raw files and push them a certain way, but also that, oh, great. Questions are popping up. And go ahead and ask questions, because I'll totally go through. And yes, this is all going to be available later. I should say that in the beginning, just so you know. So because it is going to be quick, and I'm going to go through a few things quickly, but this will be up on their YouTube channel later for you guys to look back to. So yeah, I think that it's just really important that you get that perspective on how we see that relatively. One of those images that I pulled into you, just so we can go back, color perception, this is only 3 colors. And just like we choose when we're in Photoshop to have a black background, gray, white, whatever we retouch on top of, our perception of that color will change. So this is what the 3 and 4 color perception looks like. Because of the background between the pink and the blue, we're seeing things differently. So also take in mind, it's really important that you take your time with color. I always, as I'm retouching, will color something, go back, take a break, look away, and then come back to it. It's really important that you give your eyes rest, because your perception will change over time, even by just staring at your screen. Okay, so hopefully you've started to color this image that I have up for you. This is an image from Afropunk 2018. I love this boy. He's there every year. He's amazing. Always just dressed to the nine. This is like the second, I think this is the second time that I had captured him, because I'd gone for a few years in a row. And I thought, for one, this is a great image for you guys to start on, because it is outdoors, natural light. It's got a lot of color pop to it. It's got natural elements. It's got green. It's got hints of red. It's got primary colors. So it'll be interesting to see, again, not only how you start now, but more so what you do with it later. And then what we're going to do is you're going to send them back to me. By the way, I'm not trying to get you to do free work. This image is done. All these images that I'm going to go through with you today are on my website already, but don't go to them right now. Save yourself from that. Don't cheat. Go back to them later, because I'm going to show you how I'm working with them now so that your perception is fresh. So ideally you started on that. It's okay if you didn't finish. We spent a few minutes on it. Like I said, I want to show you this process, so we're going to kind of get to it. So capture one, I'm going to do my best to kind of talk for everyone in the room. I know a lot of people are really familiar, and I know some people are going to be fresh on this. So I'll use my cursor here to help you guide you through. This first image was shot for the Hollywood Reporter a year and a half ago. It was for a story on gay comedians, where they were at the time, what their come-ups were. Some of them went to SNL, other ones went to write for Comedy Central. Jay did a Netflix special. So we got these kids together. They're amazing and lovely, and we just wanted to show them having a good time. So lots of color, lots of flair. I particularly, as it happens, you go back and forth on like what kind of locations you want. And I'm a person who loves color, so we ended up with this one. And I'm going to show you in Capture One where I start, because ultimately what I'm going to show you is how what I do with color is I comp my images. I make little sandwiches to make a meal of an image that gets the color that I want. So basics. Up at the top here, oh, I gotta be careful not to click on the zoom part. I'm gonna do this little ditty right there. There we go. So we usually start with white balance, or we can go to pick shadow level. Depending on what your image has, I have 3 for you that I'm going to show you back and forth between a few. So we're going to start with white balance on this image. I have a few white points that I can choose from. It's not always going to be accurate. Remember, color is relative. We're actually talking code. Someone wrote this. So if I pick this white, right, it's going to affect the image differently versus me picking this white, which turns it blue. Okay. So again, if you press Command R, you can always go back to the raw image, which is what I just did. But I'm going to press here on Kim Shu, and the image turns warm. Now, it's a naturally lit day, but I have this light out here to warm up the image. Okay, I would like it to feel warmer. I could directly go to Kelvin over here on the left and push that up, but I want to start from something basic. If I go over to Joel's here to his shoe, the image turns blue. It's a different white. It's not what I want. So I'm gonna reset here, come back because I like the warm feel. It just does a little bit, it just kind of gives the image some life after it being raw. I'm gonna come over here and then start to push it up. I want the image to get a little warmer. It's a nice day, the energy is there, so I'm gonna bring it up. So you can see that I brought this up just a couple hundred Kelvin. And what I'm also going to do is show you how I immediately start to make these sandwiches. Right now I have this image in front of me, and this is how I start to create these workflows. I will control click the image, I will clone it, and it gives me to the next steps that I have, right? It's a copy of this image. I'm going to go back here, I'm going to reset this image. So now I have my first step. I have gone from this raw image here to something a little bit warmer. The color's not quite there, but I'm starting to give it life. So I'm going to work with this image here. And tint is not something I normally work with. There's a lot of tools in here, guys. I'm not going to go through all of them. I'm going to go through the ones that I think are most easily accessible to you and will do a lot for you. One of the reasons why I use Capture One to do color first and primarily is because the color engine itself is far superior to Photoshop. I love Photoshop. You have to do all your retouching there. They have made many strides over the years, but their color engine is still very weak. The latitude in using the color engine in Capture One gives you far much more room to push, pull, and also just manipulate the color. So if you really do think it's important to work with color, the best option really is here, which is why I'm showing you this here. So we've got our first step. We're starting to give it life from that blue to that warm color. And what I want to start seeing is what colors can I not see? All right, so what I do is I come to levels here, and that's in this section. I come to levels. You can put these anywhere, but the way I have this workflow is I have it here. And like I said before, every camera has a profile. So if you understand that a little bit, you can use that to your advantage when you start coloring. I work on Nikon a lot, not primarily, but a lot, mostly. And these files, like I said, are a little green. It's kind of like shooting Fuji. So I already know that, and I'm gonna go to green, and I'm going to see how much green is in there by taking it out. All right, so it's about testing. So I'm gonna make, just for you guys, I wouldn't normally do this on every little jump, but I'm gonna make another one for you guys so you can see the process. And the way you work with levels is shadows, midtones, and highlights, okay? Shadows, midtones, highlights. It doesn't matter if it's blue, green, or red. When you work with top or bottom, it's either pushing or pulling in what those are. So I'm gonna go back to green. I'm gonna check the shadows. I don't wanna push any in, I'm gonna pull it out. So, okay, if I pull out that green, I can see going back and forth. I'm trying not to go too fast. I know hopefully you have fast internet, but I'm pulling in and out this green by holding shift. I usually do jumps. You really wanna go past what you think is possible. If you start clicking one by one, it's hard to adjust your eyes. You need to see something big. So I usually jump by pressing shift. I'll jump 10, I'll jump 20. You see it starts to turn red, which is how color works. Those diagrams will show you that if you go back to them, me pushing green goes into that magenta. So I'm pulling out that green in the shadows, and I'm seeing there's green in their skin. There's also green here in Jabuki's yellow top. So I don't want to pull out the whole 10, that shifts too much color. So I'm going to pull out a few points. And this is how I start to work the image. I can start to see in the midtones if it's there. And it is just a little bit. I'm just going to pull out 1 or 2 points. And then I'm going to start to get those color tones that are really more true and warm to the scene and to their skin tones. Okay, so as I start to mess around here, then I start to get truer to what I want. Then I start to make decisions on how I want the image to look. I am a huge fan of sort of purples, blues, reds, which is great because this is what that image has. So I'll push certain things in. I'll make a new image here, and I'm going to work with all of these. And I'm going to isolate this, and I'm just going to focus on that part, right? I want to put some of that blue into the shadow here just to give it a little life. It gives it like a little tone pop. You see, if I go too far, this is what happens, right? I'm giving you a blue cast. But what I'm really doing is I'm focusing on the blue that I see here in the shadow, and I'm giving it a little bit of life. So 10, I'm gonna give it 12 here. Okay, so now I go back and I go back through these images. This is where I started, and I'm using that. So this is where I gave it life. And this is where I took out that green. So this is that next step, which I'm going to use, which is great. And this is nice. So I'm probably going to start here. I mark this, and then I'll go to my next image, and then I give it that blue cast, right? Okay, so now I start to focus in on who's here. Do the skin tones look true to what they are? Do I like what they look like? Sometimes true is not always what you want. So I'm seeing this image and I could do a little bit more with it. I'm also seeing that I could take out some red and isolate some of this pink in here that's shifting up on everyone. So I showed you that blue cast. I'm actually going to take it away. I'm going to erase this real quick. I'm going to start here because this is what I really like. This is my ground, my base image. And I'm going to go make a new clone, and we're going to go to color up here on the left side. So where my color is, and this color editor is incredibly superior to the Photoshop one. You can really do great stuff with it. I'm going to come in here and I am going to, oh, you know what? See, and this is how it works. As I'm looking at it, I'm coming here to look at this pink couch because I know it's reflecting up on them, right? So now my process, it's not going to be just isolated. I'm going to see how that magenta, that red works. I'm going to go here and take it out real quick. You see that? See how I was talking before, how you just jump. It's about isolating color, taking it out, and trying to see where you want to be. So taking out that red, actually, I'm now seeing there's a red cast, which is great. So I can take it out. See, the color just got better. Took it out 5 points. Now, see, I thought it was going to be this one, but it's not. See, and that's how color works. You start to see it as you work with the image, which is why you should take breaks. You walk away, you come back. So I'm going to take away that green. I'm here. Here's my new base, right? And this is how the process works. You have to be able to see and go back with what you're working with so that you can really get to where you want to be. So now that I've taken out that red, I can go isolate the couch. I can work with it and show you this new tool from what I've shown you before, the color editor, which I was talking about, where you can come in, click on it, and then shift where you want it to be. Now, you can shift hue, you can shift saturation, you can shift lightness. I'm going to show you how you can isolate it and take it out, or you can boost it, right? Okay, so we're back to 0. So the hue here, I'm looking at, I'd like it to go just slightly more red. It's a bit pink. So I just did that. I gave it 3 points, 5 points, 6 points. Let's see here. Yeah, I like that. Okay. So shift slightly red. Just give it a little bit of saturation. Great. So that red cast is gone, but now my couch is still looking good, right? So again, you're able to sort of isolate and manipulate within this image. And then I'll show you how to comp them together. I'm going to come in here for this last piece so I can get to the next image for you guys. But I'm going to isolate this green shirt, come back out. Again, this is a great color. Love these hues. So it's about choices. It's about what do you want to do with it? Because especially with all these great colors, I want to see this shirt pop. It's a little dull. So I'm going to give it a little shift in hue. And then I'm going to saturate it a little bit. You see that? So I'm going to go back and forth. It just gave it a nice little bump. And you could go farther too. You could go lightness if you wanted. You could bring it up so that color just comes up a bit. See what we did? Easy. Okay, so now I've gotten to this image. And I'm feeling pretty good about it. I like the color. I like what it's doing. I don't want to spend too much time on it because, we're in this class and I want to go to the next images. But I'm going to quickly kind of show you how I would bring one of these together. There's more pieces I may do, but one thing I'm looking at that is bothering me is just the highlight on the image. I'm going to bring in that background just a bit. I'm going to grab these two. Let's see here. So this is with the shirt, right? So again, changed my mind. I brought it further, but I was able to see the process. This is my new base. And then now I have this in the background. Okay, so I can bring these together. I can process these two images. I can go to images. Let's see. Oh, this is where I want to be. I can grab both of them. And this is where I show you how I start to, this is not specifically with color. I'll show you that in a second. But this is how I would bring the images together. So I have my base image here. And what I want to do is just bring in that background after doing some of that color. So I'm going to make a new layer. I'm just going to copy the background. I'm going to call it sky. And I personally don't like using the Wacom and tracing. So again, I do a lot of painting with especially color, but a lot of pieces of my images. So I'll bring this down, hold shift, copy it over. And what I end up doing is just creating a mask here. See what I did? I put it under because the sky is what I want to bring into the other image, right? I'll make this mask, open up a hole for it to go in here. Press B for brush, X to bring it in, and start to paint it in. This is a rude way to show you. I'm going to show you a smoother way in a second, but I just wanted to prepare you for what you're going to see. Okay. So, in the next image, I'll show you that with color. So Justine Kotsanos is an amazing actress and friend, and she needed some imagery, so we spent the day making some stuff for her in the studio. And we had this sort of French wave vibe that we were trying to go for. And I love these images. And you know, the green thing is something for me, color has shifted for me in taste. When I first started coloring, probably about 5, 6 years ago, I was really in love with blues and purples. My taste has shifted towards greens and blues. Um, and so, you know, that will affect how you kind of push and pull and pick what you want to see. But again, I'm just hoping that these tools and the way that I use this process here will show you a really smooth or just different way to do that. All right, so before we use white point to start off this image, I'm going to show you a shadow level. We technically have a white point here, but let's pretend we don't. So we're picking shadow level, which is technically black point, and I want to see what it does. Let's see if it gives us the life we want. So I pick it. Okay, it doesn't quite do too much to the color, but it does bring me in the space of, okay, this feels more natural than a raw image. I want to do a quick comparison. Oh, so yeah, I just saw your question. Great, that popped up. I do. I absolutely do prefer Capture One over Adobe's Lightroom. Again, it's for me, the color engine is so much bigger and so much smoother. Sorry. Okay, so I just want to go back and forth again. A lot of it is that it's going back and forth. It's trying to figure out where do I go. So you start small, and you have to do a lot of comparing. So I'm going to come back here. No, I got this zoom thing in the way. I'm going to come back. There we go. And pick the shadow level. Oh, sorry. I meant white point. I said pretend like we don't have it. So I'm going to hit her. Okay, that's not right. It's going to turn her green, right? Okay. If I did have it, okay, we do. It does give the image life, but I'm not sure what that cast is. I'm not sure if that's what I want. I mean, yeah, it makes her sweater pop, but I'm not sure I love it. So I'm going to go back, and I'm going to go back to that black point. I'm going to come down here. All right, so starting here, I'm going to come in and I'm going to try and figure out what do I want to see. All right, so my focus is always, I do want the skin tones to be nice. But this green that I found myself in really should like sing, it should pop. So let's see what we can do with that. It's not just about going straight to like saturate. That's not going to help us. We want to start small. So and now that I have this black point, what I do want to see actually is I want to see this image in a better light. I need to do a little bit more manipulation. So I'm going to open it up. I'm going to go to the shadows, which are really great here. Don't ever be afraid to use these things, um, especially on a raw image. Like there's so much latitude in here. That's why I like using it. So I want to open it up a little bit. So I'm going to do that. I want to give it a little shape. And then I'm going to go back to temperature and see what I can do just to give it a little love. Her skin is a little pale. Like I said, there's a lot of green in here. So that was okay. So this is similar. Me going up that Kelvin a little bit to warm it up is similar to me picking that white point, right? A yellow cast comes in because we are pushing towards yellow. I'm not sure how much I love that. But I can control it here. It's going up 200 Kelvin, so I'm going to give it 100. I want to get just a little bit of love. All right, so now I want to see how I can get that cast out, right? The cast that I was talking about. Always remember you're working with color that someone else created. So Nikon again, I want the green to sing, but I want it to be my green. Okay, I don't want it to be the green that they wrote into the file. So I'm going to go to the green here and I'm going to start pulling it out like I did before. All right. Now that's the 10 I usually jump, right? That's way too much. So let's just kind of go a few bumps down and see what that does. Okay. Even at 5, it starts to turn that magenta comes in quick. So I want to just give it a little bit. So I gave it 2 point. I took out 2 points green. Let's see what happens when I go to the midtones. Same thing. We go to magenta real quick, so I have to be careful. So again, it's about taking out the cast. Right now, I'm really paying attention to those green, the green in the skin tones, because that's what you don't want. Especially with lighter skin, that green always creeps up really quick. So I'm gonna go in there and take out 2 points. And you see there's already life coming back to her. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you that process, right? We've done a few things. We have a copy of this. I'm gonna go back to the first one, reset it, and see how far we've come, right? Okay, this is that raw file, and this is us coming forward. There's shape, there's color in those cheeks now and in her lips, and there's texture in her hair. Remember that adding color does add texture. Other than opening up the file a little bit in the shadows, we've done a lot of shaping by just taking out color and putting in color. And that's also what I really want you to understand. You're doing a lot by coloring. You're really shaping the image. You're not just giving it a vibe. Whoops, there we go. Okay, so we've come here. We've taken out that green cast. It goes magenta really quick, so I think we should check the reds. Like that's a sign for you. When you don't have the latitude you think you do, that means the colors are clashing. So you go to the other color to check it out. And that's what this is about. It's about digging for color and seeing what's there and finding it and then deciding what do you want to do with it. So we go into that red. It was in the midtones, it was also in the shadows, right? So let's come here. All right. So but it takes us back to green. So it's about seeing, going back and forth. It's about seeing where it shows up and if you want it. All right. So there's a little bit of that red in the shadows, right? But I'll be honest, it's not that much. I don't mind it. That warmth and the red in the shadows are also here in this wood too. So I'm gonna keep that. Let's go over to the midtones. Again, it goes green, right? Because that's where the color slides. Do we want to see the green in the midtones? The midtones are skin tones right now. So if you're looking at your skin tones as I go back and forth, you're going to see the red come out, which is what I'm pulling. I'm pulling that red out and it goes green again. The red gives her warmth, but you want to find a balance where it's, do I want to cast or do I want to have just a little bit of red in her skin? It's also, you can see it, you know, that skin, it creeps into her hair too. So I'm going to actually just pull out 2 points there. And as I did that, I'm like, you know what? It's too much. See, so again, we already knew the colors are really close together. I think we're in a good place. All right. So again, we came here. We're, we came from this raw image, took out that green, checked out the red, um, warmed it up just like 100 Kelvin barely, and we've done a lot already. All right. So, but we're not there. So this is where I come back and I show you, okay, my next step again. I'm going to come to this color editor. What do I really, what's bothering me? What do I want to focus on? So let's get this green up. See, now that I've taken the green out, right? I've taken the green out of places that it shouldn't have been. There was a green cast before, but now the colors that are green are just supposed to be green. Okay, so now that I can isolate the green, all right, which is her sweater. Sorry, just left my brain, which is her sweater. I can go in here and I can shift the color or I can saturate it, right? So right now I'm saturating it. But you know what I want to do? I'm going to show you this in another step. I'm going to show you here. I'm going to show you this, like this. So we're going to bump up her sweater. And then I'm also going to come over here and I'm going to get this green, this yellow. Wait, there we go. Yeah, we can zoom in, grab it. It's too similar to the last color, so I'm gonna grab something that feels a little better. Let's see here. I'm gonna shift that. See that? I can grab that and shift that color so it pops more or shifts into another color. So that hue, that's where we were, and I can bring it up a little bit. Nice. Okay, great. I like that. So I can do that and come back out, and now the clothes had that pop that I needed. It just came up a little bit, like 10%, but it really, really helps to be able to sort of shift and make the pieces sort of come off the screen. So now that I feel like I'm in a good place here, what I want to do, I'm going to mark that green, right? And it might change, but this is where I'm going to start for now. I want to bring up this backdrop because it looks ugly. And the backdrop is green, but I need to grab this color and bring it out. So I'm going to do that. I am going to only focus on the backdrop. I'm going to bring down this tint, right? Because the tint is more of a cast. That's why I said in the beginning, I don't mess with it. But because I'm working with such a large piece and a large object in the frame, I can go back to it. That's when you would use that. Come back. And I'm just going to go back to where I was. I was at 0. I'm going to show you again. I'm going to just come down. And it's the perfect green for what I want, right? So I'm coming back up here. I'm shifting it over. Okay, just give it a little bit of a shift. Now I can grab this green and now I can manipulate the color better. So I can come back down to the color editor, grab it, and make it the green that I want, which is closer, really slightly closer to her top. See, if I come down here, it goes dull. I don't want the yellow. I want like the nice bright green. And then I can saturate. Okay, so now we're in the color that I want. This is what we're going to put together. So now I have, I'm going to take this away for this one real quick. Now I have my base. Now I have this backdrop. The other thing I want to quickly grab just as another example for color are his shoes because they're great. It's a great velvet blue. So what I want to do is I want to see more detail in the shoe. I'm going to bring them up just a tad. I am going to do that in the shadows, then come back to color. I'm gonna grab it and see the blue comes up. So we're back here, we're back in the blue. We can shift the blue a little, shift it a lot just to see what it does, right? Let's do that. Let's shift it a lot. Okay, I can turn it purple. That's not what I want to do. I'm not trying to, there's no reason for that. I want to sort of accentuate what I have already there. So I'm going to just come back over here, pull that blue, and then saturate a little bit. And now they're really popping. And you don't have to get crazy with it. I want the image to be natural. I'm trying to enhance. So now I have the shoes. So I'm going to take these 3 images and show you how I would, with color, pull these out. I'm going to process these. I'm going to go to the folder where they're processed. Show you how I would comp these up. So this is my base. This is my backdrop, and these are my shoes. So I'm going to start and make a new, I'm basically packaging images the way that I'm comping this. Each new folder package, and yes, you can make folders and you can do so many things in Photoshop. But again, this is the simple way that I kind of make these images happen. And I can also show you that you can reverse anything that you do by comping and slapping these images together. So I make a new background copy. It's going to be my backdrop, so I will label it that. And then I'm going to grab the backdrop, pull it out. If you hold down, if you go to the grabber, V, hold down Shift and go over, it'll evenly put it over, place it. And what you're doing is bringing the backdrop below the image you want, because what you're going to do is make a mask, make that hole, pull it in, and do it by using the brush. So once I've made the mask, I have what I want underneath. I can grab the brush, B, go to it, and then using opacity, I usually start at about 25. You don't want to get crazy. You also want to always double check if the brush is hard or not. I don't want it hard, I want it smooth. So I'm going to start painting this in. Okay, so I can get this image in that I want. And yes, I'm going over her too, but I can go back and reverse on her. This is how I can sort of actually make my own backdrop. And yes, I'm showing you quickly. I would take more time, but ultimately, this is how I would make this work. And this is how my images are done on my site. So I go in and I paint it. And I'll just kind of go up. Maybe I'll go up 40 for that. Okay, and then I can deselect the areas that I don't want. I can push that up a bit, make it faster, and then kind of go in and take away the green where I overlapped. Okay, and just take it away. Take it away out of that edge there where I had the green, take it away here where I overlapped, just all this area where I didn't really want to touch. Okay, so now we have, and you can see the outline for her. Now we have that green. And that's okay also because the green creeps into her, it's smooth. So it's nice that I'm also kind of giving her a boost on the edges. So after I get this together, I can show you again with how I do the color for the shoes. I'll pull in the shoes. I'll bring this down, bring it below, make a mask hole for it. Here it is, right? The shoes are here underneath, right? So then I'll just go in, brush. This is way too much. So let's start with 25 again. And just kind of go in and, whoops, there we go. Oh, that's why, there we go. Mask has to be highlighted. just go in and kind of give the shoes a little love. And if you don't want to work slow, you can always like raise it, but it's, it takes patience and finesse. I'm showing you a bunch of images in like under an hour, so it probably looks a little crazy, but the technique and way you use the tools for using the color and me comping is really how I think you're going to get the best out of your images. The other reason why I see how that came up. Here we go. I'm going to tell you in a second. So I'm just showing you real quick how that blue came in. Yes, you could go in and isolate the blue, right? You can isolate the blue in Photoshop and make a new layer. But as I was about to say, the reason I do it this way is because two things. One, like I said before, the color in Capture One is far superior. You can really go in, manipulate, and choose and pick variations on hues of color. But also, what you're working with right now are raw files that have been processed. Once you process your large TIFF, even if it's 20 by 24, you're still working with a processed TIFF. And once you start manipulating, chopping, cutting, outlining that one image, you start to lose the latitude on the image. So by me processing what I want, I'm getting the full range of the color and the work that I want from this file. So last one, Chris Rock. A real favorite. I also picked this one because it has a huge color cast in it. But you got to get creative. So you got to try and figure out, how am I going to find, where I want to be. I mean, I was there. And we've all seen Chris Rock. We generally have an idea, fortunately, on what his skin tones are. So I'm gonna kind of like try and work off that. I can tell this is a red couch, and it's just really giving off everything in the room, which is why the red cast is there, along with this cherry wood. So let's see what's up. Instead of going back like I do before, I'm just gonna make the next copy and start here, just so you guys can, see how I do that step, right? So again, we're gonna go back to where we start. White point or dark point. I don't have anything white in the room. So shadow level, what does that look like? Okay, that's interesting. So that brought me the shadow level. Let me do this. I'm going to show you this way, because again, one of the other reasons why I like using this is because you can easily pick and make these images and then shift back and forth to really see the color. I just picked black point. Resources for beginners of Photoshop, YouTube. I feel like that's still probably the best. I really do. When I get stuck on something and I really need to, or I forgot how to do something, it's always the best place. Anyone who's anyone has like made some random video for you to learn, so I would go there. So I'm gonna go up and go to this and pick white point as well. I don't really have. I mean, do I have it? Let's see if we can get creative. That's silver. You know what? This is white. Like that reflection. Okay, that did something else. Okay, so this is what I'm talking about. Raw image, black point, white point. Now see the difference of what they did. Again, this is like information written. So what am I getting and what world do I want to start in? Like I said, I know that the white point, I should say this. The difference between the white point and the black point, really, the shadow point in here, is that white point will give you a more accurate color reading, but the shadow point will give you a more accurate reading on the light in the room. So you can see that I really like the vibe that it gave me here, right? It like brought it down into the right tones. This is what my light should be doing. But picking the white point, excuse me, like it's some water. The white point gave me color. Now I know that the color doesn't look good here, but I know it's the right color because guess what? I can see the green. The green came up. And what I was talking about, Nikon's green. And I can see the green in his skin and I can see it pop up off this like it's like a burgundy green suit that he's wearing. So I got to now decide where do I want to start? Um, let's start here. We're talking about colors, so let's stay true to this. So I'm gonna get rid of that shadow point. We have the raw. We have our new starting point for balance. Let's come in here and because I'm talking about the green, I see the green. Let's go straight to the green. Levels. Uh, let's pull it out and see what happens. Okay. Okay, so we're really close to that red cast. Okay, so we're clashing again, sort of like the last one. So let's see what we can do with this. Let's just give it a few points. Just two out of the shadows. Let's go to the midtones. Whoops, that was pushing in green. I want to take away. So, okay, I see it. Uh, I see it in his skin. Going 10 is too much, right? So I'm gonna maybe a third of that. Yeah, okay, that looks better. All right. So starting to get the vibe I needed, and then now the skin is coming back. A lot of that red cast is starting to go away, but it's not fully away. The green cast is definitely now gone. It's out of his skin. So let's go to the red. Coming in here, those are midtones. See, but you see the red goes back to green. And this is me calling back to the information with the diagrams that I gave you. You'll start to memorize how the color slides, right? And that's how you can start to also pick what you want. And you see that taking out that red goes back to green, which is what I just put in. Excuse me. Taking out red goes back to the green, which I just took out. So not a lot. I don't want to do a lot. It's just a little bit of red here in the midtones. Just 3. Okay. Let's check our shadows. Oh, ooh, okay. So yeah, that's a lot of red cast. Like you can see the edges and you can see the books. The red cast is incredibly strong. Again, that red couch, this is mixed lighting. Um, I have strobes going. I also have LEDs going. Okay, so there's a spot, there's a fill, there's 2 fills, and one of the fills is an LED. And then there's a spot on his face, then that's strobe. So a lot of these lights are in the room, and a lot of them are bouncing off the couch, which he's just enveloped in. So we got to take that out. So let's take out that red cast. Nice. And we're getting closer to where we want to be. I think it goes a little too deep if I go 10. So I'm going to pull it back a little bit and go 7. And now I can start to see that grain that I was talking about that was there on the suit, but not in his skin, right? Okay, so now we have our starting point for Chris. I'm gonna mark that and I'm gonna go and start to feel out, do I wanna warm up the image? Do I wanna isolate? Let's see what warming up do. So warming up does. White balance. Warming up adds yellow, remember that. So also like think, okay, what skin tones am I working with? What skin tones look great with what colors? I love adding blue to black people. um, I think yellow works for lighter skin tones. It depends on shades, but I think right now showing you how this works where I push and push and push and you start to see that yellow come back in. Okay, but see now we're getting that cast. All right, so I'm gonna go back and show you that cast by making the next step. I'm gonna come in here and make that copy. Remember, so we're here. I'm gonna come down and push that. Warm up the room. His skin starts to come back. I mean, I like that. 'Cause like I said, normally I like adding blue, but that's in the shadows. And right now we're looking at his face and those are highlights, right? So this is something different. We're adding a lot to highlights, which are in the books, on that wood wall on the right top and his skin. So here we are here. deep browns, and then we come up just a bit on the skin. I think we could come up even more. So I'm going to do a little bit more, a little brighter. See that? Okay, so now what we're doing is we're pushing away from that green reflecting. We're coming back into the reds. The couch is coming up, and so are the shadows. The light is coming up in the room because I'm adding yellow. So now we're here, and I've decided, you know what, this next step is better. So we're going to get rid of that green, and now our next step, our last one, adding that yellow, is where we are. So we're getting close on time, and I want to show you this last step of isolating. I would do a bit more, but again, because of time, isolating, I'm going to show you this last piece. We're going to come in here with color editor. I'm going to grab the red, because remember, we're taking out all this color, all these colors that just cast the image. That's what you're doing. You're taking away what you don't want to allow you to isolate color and really work with an image and give it the life that you want. This is color grading. And the idea is also, again, you're taking away what someone wrote for the image, the raw camera, and making it your own. So I'm going to grab this red because I want it to sing a little bit. And I'm going to look at that red and check out the hues. I don't want it to go pink. You see I'm over here. I don't want it to go pink. I want it to go more red. So let's do that. I'm just going to give it a little bit. Okay. And then I'm going to saturate. Yeah. Nice. Okay. Now I brought up the red. Still feels deep. Pops a little bit, but still has that shadow. I mean, and again, it's a great engine. I can just isolate the couch and bring the couch down, or I can bring the couch up. You see what I'm saying? Like it's just really smooth, and that's why one of the reasons why I like doing the color here. So I have it isolated. I'm back to 0 right now. Close enough. Back to 0, and I just want to bring the couch up just a little bit. Nice. Okay. So I would probably do one more little thing, which is go in and do the suit. It needs to be a better color. Yeah, there we go. So you see what I did there? I grabbed the suit and I came over here to color editor. I'm just picking and choosing again. And I'm like, it was the hue. It wasn't just saturation. It needed color. So I brought it over towards the green and the yellow, and it brought that suit up. And that's a way better color. That's nice. But it messes with the skin, so we're going to grab the suit. So ultimately, we're here. When it copies, it also copies the color tag. We start here. We're going to bring up that couch here on the second one, and then we have a nice color for the suit here. So I'm going to grab these 3. And while I'm grabbing these 3, I'm going to look at your questions, which is, can you share how you got your first paying clients? First paying clients. Let's see here. Family. Actually, my first paying client was because I have an older sister who used to be in advertising, and she got me a meeting with Complex, and they liked my work. And a lot of the times it's just about getting into the room. And that it can be really hard. I talk a lot about opportunity versus access as well, which is saved for another talk. But the networking has to be strong. Got to be out there. Something that I don't say enough is that taking pictures is like 20% of photography, you know? And I wish I took pictures a little bit more, but like as a business for people who really want to make this work, and also, you know, have fun and be of service and like live your truth through the work, which can all happen, and still get paid. Like, uh, yeah, all those things must happen. And um, I lost my train of thought, but I want to finish this image. The network must be strong. So here we go. Last image. I'm going to show you this comp. So right now we have, let's see, I want to also get rid of Justine. Don't save. There we go. All right, so we have the base. Where are you? Yeah, I'm on the base. This is the couch, and this is the suit. Okay. And these are slight differences, but again, they all affect each other. So if you want to isolate, then comping these in is the way to go. So we have couch, and then I'm going to pull the couch out. I'm going to slap it on top, and then put the couch that I want underneath. Make the mask right here. You know, you press mask here. For those who are not familiar with Photoshop, you're creating a hole through the image. And that hole, this window, is what you're gonna reach into and grab. That's basically what I'm doing. So I grab the brush with B, and I go to the hole and start to grab that couch and bring it up where I want to. Okay, and I start to paint this in and get it to where I actually want it to be, which is just a little bit more zing in it, just a little bit more red, a little bit more flavor. Again, this is quickly because time, but I'm going to put those together, and then I'm going to make another layer, and that's going to be for a suit. Then I'm going to grab the suit. Again, if you hold down shift and grab it, as I said it didn't work because I let go too early. If you hold down shift when you pull the image over, it places it on top directly instead of doing the weird thing it just did. Just a little tip. I pull the suit I want underneath. I go back to the suit I want it to be. I blow the hole into the image. I pull out the brush. I reach in, and then I bring out that suit a little bit more. Bring out that green. That way, that green and that yellow don't hit his face. It's just about the suit. So this is how I get my color. Like I said, it's about using tools the way you want to. I think a lot of people are going to see this and say, wow, I can't believe you retouched like that. But like I said, I can go back at any point. If I don't want the couch in, I always have a base layer. Any layer before the image that I used is the image that has what I need. I can pull it back in and then reverse the image by putting them together and doing a reverse mask. And then it'll be back to normal if I want it to. So yeah, I really hope it's helpful. I think color, again, is really, really important. As I said at the beginning of the lesson, I would look at work so much. And that was actually one of my first jobs coming into the industry. When I was 19 and moved to New York, there was a convention that used to run, international convention, and would stop in New York. It's called The Book, and you know, it was a meet and greet for agencies of all sorts and kind, production houses, etc., film, editorial, etc. And I would act as an arm to an agency on the West Coast. And I would be looking at work. That was my job. I was looking at work and looking at people who might want to be repped or who might want to be working with the agency that I was with. Yeah, I've just been looking at work for a really long time. It's always been a real deep passion of mine, looking at other people's work. It's part of the reason why I'm, 17 years later, I'm 16, 17 years later, I'm now doing color positive. I really want people to be more open about how they work and have tools, because at the end of the day, we all do things differently. Even with you knowing how I do my work, even with having one of my EIPs, it's never going to be yours. So it's just better that we share and get to understand how each other are working and how we're making things work. Because some of the tools aren't always available. So, we use what we have. Thankfully, Photoshop and Capture One are now downloadable. You can pay for them by month. This is not an ad for them. I just want to promote them because I think, again, they have the best tools. Capture One, particularly for color, is just phenomenal. And this workflow that I've created for myself is how I isolate and sort of just put my images together. At the end of the day, when I'm doing my retouching, it's mostly what I just showed you. And then at the very end, I will pull out some blemishes and stuff. But by the time I've done that color work, the image looks so good, and it does something to the eyes that I fortunately don't have to start tracing things and doing multiple layers, and it's another type of retouching that I don't do. So I just hope it's helpful. Any tips for starting a career in photography? Make a lot of work. It was the one thing that I was told as a young artist, and it didn't hit me the right way at the time. As an older artist now, I'm like, yeah, that's it. Make as much work as you can. It's not just your benefit, it's to the benefit of everyone around you. By making the work, you are not only honing on your craft, but you're creating a world that you will then start to more understand as you pick through it. And that is incredibly important as a photographer. Let's see here. So yes, Q&A. Is there anyone else?
I think that might be it, Jay. Thank you so much for such an insightful class. I know I learned a lot and really appreciate your insights, not only on these tools, but also specifically about your career and how you got your start and what you've been up to. So thank you so much for joining us. I put into the I put into the chat a link to Jay's site where you guys can submit your email addresses and also submit your images that you have edited so that you guys can see the entire class. But Jay, is there anything else you'd like to add about that or to wrap up the class?
No, just that I try to make myself available to the whole photo community. So if you want to ask me other questions, please reach out. I'm pretty available, though it may take me a while to do emails because I get a ton every day, but I usually get back to everyone. And yeah, I see someone say repost the link. We can put that link in. I did send you that image. It's for fun. You don't have to finish it if you don't want to, but I really do think it's a really insightful way to see how other people do color. So, if everyone were to finish that image in their own way and then put it up, you can send me the link. I'll have the page up for free. Everyone will be able to see how people are creating worlds on just one look. And yeah, like again, the relativity of color is just really important to understand. So it's a good way to see that. But thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Jay. And for those who asked about the links, we'll also drop them in shortly, but I will also aim to send an email out to everyone. But here is the link to submit your email. And then I will send these instructions about how to get in touch with Jay.
I'm putting my email in the chat right now. And then I guess maybe I just one last thing, just the file name, just put it as your name. Yeah, and that'll be easy.
Perfect. Thank you guys so much. We'll leave this up for a couple more minutes so you guys can bookmark and save the links and also jot down Jay's information. But again, thank you so much, Jay, for joining us for Creatively Classes.
Thanks, guys. I really appreciate it. Good time. Take care.